Full commitment. Listen up. Full commitment is not a switch you flip when it feels convenient. It's the moment you decide to change everything, burn the boats, delete the apps, throw the excuses into the fire, and decide that retreat is no longer an option. Most people live in the gray zone, 70% effort, 90% belief, 100% ready with a backup plan. That's why they get 30% results and wonder why the view never changes. Full commitment is different. It's the 4 a.m. alarm when your body screams no and your soul already has its shoes on. It's the 10th rep when failure is shaking in your muscles but quitting is not an option in your mind. It's saying this is who I am now and meaning it so violently that the old version of you becomes a stranger. Full commitment doesn't negotiate with fear, it stares fear in the face and says, "You're coming with me, but you don't get a vote." When you go all in, the universe notices. Doors you never saw start opening. People who were once spectators suddenly want to run beside you. Energy you didn't know existed floods your veins because you finally stopped leaking it on maybe. Doubt will still whisper, tired will still knock. But when you're fully committed, those voices don't get a say, they just get carried. This is the difference between the people who tried and the ones who became legends. One group left themselves out. The other group removed the exit and built their empire on the ashes of what if. The moment you decide, commitment doesn't begin with action. It begins with a decision, a line in the sand moment where you tell yourself, "I'm done living halfway." Most people never get what they want because they never say these words. They wish, they try, they intend, but they do not decide. When you commit, you eliminate plan B. You eliminate excuses. You eliminate hesitation. Full commitment means you give your dream a level of seriousness that scares your old life. Hesitation has robbed more people of greatness than failure ever has. Today is the day you choose. Burning the bridges behind you, history shows it, the strongest warriors burn the ships behind them. Why? So they have no choice but to move forward. Full commitment requires no fallback options. No half-effort days. No "I'll do it later," no comfort escapism. When you burn your excuses, what remains is your potential. You become dangerous. You become focused. You become unstoppable. Because you must win. The grind no one sees, commitment survives in the dark. This is the time when your passion is silent, your motivation is sleeping, and only your discipline is alive. No applause, no validation, no audience, just you. The world sees your results, but God sees your effort, and effort builds character, character builds destiny. If you can stay committed when no one is watching, you will eat when others are starving. The war within, your biggest enemy is not outside, it is your emotions. Commitment means, you show up when you're tired, you show up when you're stressed. You show up when you're uninspired, you show up when your feelings betray you. Your emotions want comfort, your commitment wants growth. Growth wins only if you make it non-negotiable. Tell your feelings, "You don't run my life. My decisions do." The price of greatness, everything meaningful has a cost, commitment is your willingness to pay it. You will lose comfort, friendships that don't align, habits that waste time, weak versions of yourself. You will gain respect for yourself, discipline, control over your life, unshakable confidence. The price is high, but the reward is priceless. The world does not give greatness to people who try. It gives greatness to people who sacrifice. Relentless consistency, this is where most people fail, not because they are weak but because they are inconsistent. Full commitment is not about intensity for one day, it is about intensity repeated for thousands of days. Consistency is the superpower of ordinary people who achieve extraordinary outcomes. Commitment says, "I will do the work whether I feel like it or not." When you show up daily, you stop being motivated and you become inevitable. Raising your standards, your life doesn't rise to your goals, it rises to your standards. Full commitment means, you no longer tolerate laziness, you no longer tolerate excuses, you no longer tolerate average effort, you no longer tolerate a version of yourself beneath your capability, you become your own supervisor. Your own coach. Your own accountability system. You level up not by wishing, but by refusing to live below your potential. Standards transform you faster than motivation ever can. Facing failure without breaking. Failing does not kill commitment, quitting does. When you are fully committed, failure becomes feedback, rejection becomes redirection, setbacks become instruction. You don't collapse, you calculate, you don't panic, you adapt, you don't quit, you evolve. Every failure becomes a brick in your foundation. With commitment, you don't get weaker after failing, you get sharper, hungrier, smarter, more disciplined. Failure becomes your gym. Every committed person hits walls, mental walls, emotional walls, financial walls, and physical walls. The weak collapse, the committed climb. Every wall builds the muscle you need for the next level. Commitment requires pain tolerance. Not suffering for nothing but suffering for transformation. Pain becomes your tutor. Your trainer. Your purifier. You're not punished by pain, you're built by it. At this stage, commitment becomes an obsession. You think about your goal in the morning. You think about it at work, you think about it at night, you dream about it. Obsession is not unhealthy, it's required. The committed do not let feelings govern their destiny. Feeling tired? Work. Feeling sad? Work. Feeling discouraged? Work. Feeling unmotivated? Work. Your emotions don't get to vote anymore. Becoming the person who deserves it, success is not something you pursue, it is something you become ready for. Full commitment transforms your identity. You stop saying, "I hope it works." You start saying, "It will work because I will not stop." Commitment rewires you into someone who thinks long-term, moves with purpose, takes responsibility, finishes what they start. You become the kind of person who achieves things not because they are easy, but because you refuse to break. Unstoppable momentum. This is when your consistency is so powerful that stopping is harder than continuing. People look at you and think you're lucky. They think you're gifted, they think you're blessed with something they don't have. But you know the truth, you committed when they hesitated, you worked when they rested, you kept going when they quit. Momentum is the reward of a committed soul. Once you have it, your dreams stop being dreams. They become destiny.